Hello and welcome to today's video. Welcome to Arequipa, a city in Peru that is at an altitude of 2,300 meters, and we are starting this video today in the historical center of Arequipa at the Plaza de Armas. This is the centerpiece of the city and the heart of the historical center. And maybe this reminds you of something if you've seen my video about Cusco already, because when I arrived here I actually thought it looks exactly just like the Plaza de Armas in Cusco, or at least quite similar. That is of course because also the Spanish have arrived here at some point in Arequipa and they built their typical colonial architecture here in Arequipa as well, and that is what you can witness until today here in Arequipa as well. Here at the Plaza de Armas we can see a huge square obviously, and then there are restaurants and bar in the surrounding areas, and of course also the Cathedral of Arequipa. This cathedral has actually been destroyed a couple of times already. It had to be rebuilt 3 times already, which is kind of crazy, I think. But that is due to earthquakes. Actually, here in this area, it happens quite frequently that there are earthquakes here. The city itself is also called the White City, or La Ciudad Blanca in Spanish. That is because its architecture is completely white, at least here in the historical center. It has been constructed by volcanic rock that is white. Since this area here is a volcanic area, there are lots of volcanoes here in the area. They used this kind of rock to build the city of Arequipa. I am now going to take you through a little tour through the Cathedral of Arequipa, and we are also going to see the rooftop, meaning I will hopefully be able to show you a great view over the city of Arequipa. In theory, here behind me you would now be able to see the 3 volcanoes of Arequipa. There is the highest one with 6,000 meters, that is called Chichani. And then there is Misti, which has an altitude of, I think, 5,800 meters, if I'm not mistaken. And that one is active until today and probably the most symbolic view of the city of Arequipa. That one would be right here behind me, but unfortunately it is all hidden behind the clouds today. Anyway, from up here we get a beautiful view over the city of Arequipa. I am now at the Museum Santuarios Andinos, where you can actually learn a little bit about the history of the people in the Andes Mountains. And there's something very interesting that you can see here in the museum. Unfortunately, it is absolutely not allowed to film or take photos inside of the museum, but I wanted to tell you anyway the history of Juanita, which is a girl that has been found in 1995 in one of the glaciers. She is actually frozen and has been in the glacier for more or less 500 years. It is being assumed that she has been used by the Incas as a human sacrifice to appease the gods of the 15th century. I am now in the convent of Santa Catalina, and this convent has been founded by Doña Maria Guzman in 1580. It used to be kind of like a city within a city, because at its peak in the 18th century it hosted about 300 nuns. Until today there are nuns living here in the convent. In the 1970s it has been opened up for tourists to visit it, and it is meant to be a masterpiece of colonial architecture. I'm now about to try something that seems very typical here from Arequipa, and that is queso helado. It's actually cheese ice cream, I guess. They sell it here on the streets basically everywhere. I saw it a lot of times, and well, now it's time to give it a try. Okay, it's way better than I expected, to be honest. When I heard it, cheese ice cream, I was like, this can't be good. But I suppose it's like cream cheese, I guess, and then there is cinnamon on top of it. It is sweet, but not like super sweet, and it's very creamy. So it is definitely a very interesting taste, something I've never tasted before. I didn't just come here to eat some ice cream. I actually didn't even have Arequipa on my plans. A few days ago, I heard about a place that is called the Colca Canyon, and that is one of the deepest canyons on Earth. So tomorrow I'm visiting that canyon, and that is also the reason why I came to Arequipa, because from Arequipa there are the tours that start and take you to the canyon. Anyway, I'm actually super happy that I came here to Arequipa because it is a very beautiful city and it has a lot to offer. Tomorrow my tour is going to start at 3 a.m. Yes, 3 in the morning. I will probably, or hopefully, go to bed very early today at like 7 or 8 the latest to at least get a few hours of sleep and then start the tour tomorrow. See you tomorrow. I am at the first stop of today's tour. They picked me up at a little bit after 3 a.m. in the morning, and I was able to sleep on the car because we were driving for more or less 2 hours to get here to this viewpoint. And this is actually kind of insane. I wasn't expecting something like that here in Peru. As you can see in the background, it is snowy. Actually, we are at an altitude of more than 4,900 meters. But if you've been following me on my journey, I have been on that altitude, actually in the Rainbow Mountains of Paicoyo. And there wasn't snow, so I wasn't expecting to see that much snow. And also, here in Peru, it is currently summer. Imagine that, in summer there is snow. Actually, in Peru, summer means it is rather rainy, while during the winter it is super dry and the temperatures are quite low. Usually we would be able to see volcanoes from this viewpoint, but unfortunately it is quite cloudy still. We won't be able to see volcanoes here. There are more than 200 volcanoes in the area of Arequipa, which is insane. And well, there would be quite a few here in this area. But anyway, the views are super impressive. We drove about 30 minutes more and we are now in Chivay, which is a village where we are having a breakfast. Chivay is actually the capital of this area. This is like the start of the Colca Valley. Chivay is its capital. There are more or less 20 villages here in this area, Chivay being the biggest one. We actually drove down, so now we are at around 3,700 meters of altitude. It feels much better and also much warmer. As you can see, there's no snow at all here in this area. We are going to continue our tour in a little bit and check out a few more villages here in the area, and then we will go to the famous Colca Canyon. We now arrived in the village of Maca, which is a very small town. It has been completely destroyed by an earthquake in 1995. There used to live about 3,000 people here in the village. Nowadays it has only a population of about 300 people. Here behind me you can see a typical colonial church that you can find in basically all villages in this area. That is because the Spanish have also arrived here. They built up their churches, they made local people go to church, they basically made them become Catholic. In those churches you can usually see a lot of mirrors, and there's a reason for that. Since local people believed in the god of the sun, the Spanish thought that they can tell those people that they can catch the sun in those mirrors, and they will be like, look, here in the church we have your gods. We caught the sun in the mirrors, so they made people believe in that and they made them go to church. Now this church is also a little bit damaged nowadays. You can actually see there is a crack in the wall that has been also caused by an earthquake. Our guide has just told us something that I thought is a little bit funny, to be honest. If you remember at the beginning of this video in Arequipa, I told you that it also has the nickname the White City, which is because of the white color of the buildings in the historical center that comes from volcanic rock, right? But our guide just told us that originally they called it the White City because Arequipa has been a city that was made only for Spanish people. So basically a city only for white people. There were no local people at that time in Arequipa, only the Spanish. So the locals that were here before the Spanish, they actually called the city of Arequipa the city for the white people. Now at some point they kind of changed that story because it doesn't sound that good. Nowadays they only say that they call it the White City due to the volcanic rock that has been used to build the city. We are now at one of the viewpoints. According to our guide, this is the most spectacular viewpoint of the Colca Valley, and I must admit it is insanely impressive. We are at a cliff that goes down 1 kilometer in total, and we can see the terraces, we can see the Colca River, and we can even see the start of the Amazon River, which is the longest river on Earth with more than 7,000 kilometers. And then we can see here a lot of terraces. Actually, the original name of them is andenes. These terraces are being used until today for agriculture. They have been here in pre-Incan times, and nowadays they still plant potatoes, quinoa and corn here in this area, and people mostly live by agriculture. We are now in front of the Colca Canyon. We wanted to go to the Condor Cross, which is a little bit further up the canyon, But up there it looks super cloudy right now, so we decided to make a stop here, and maybe if we get lucky we will see condors from here. I just learned that the condor is actually the second largest flying bird on Earth. The largest bird is the albatross in New Zealand. That has a wingspan of 3.5 meters, which is insane. The condor has a wingspan of 3 meters and 20 centimeters, so it's a bit smaller. And they live here in this region. They actually nest here in this region, which means that, well, here you have a high chance to actually see them. The Colca Canyon has a length of 100 kilometers, which is insane. And to be a canyon, it needs to be created by a river erosion. The Colca Canyon is one of the deepest canyons on Earth, with a deepness of up to 3,400 meters. We are now at the viewpoint of the Cross Condor. This is the most popular viewpoint, and you notice actually once we arrived up there, there were so many people there. It was crazy. There are even people in costumes of a condor, whom you can take your photos. They look quite real from a little bit further away, obviously. It's kind of cool to see that, but for me it was way too crowded, so I decided to continue and go down a little bit. There are further viewpoints here in the area, and they are way less crowded, but unfortunately, as you can see here in the background, it is so cloudy, it is super foggy. We can hardly see the other side of the canyon. So I'm not sure if we will get lucky today to see the condors. It would be amazing, but it's nature, so there's always the risk of not getting to see them. Now this canyon is about 3,400 meters deep at some points. And with that, it is way deeper than the Grand Canyon, which is probably the most famous canyon on Earth. While the Colca Canyon is not really known outside of Peru, which surprises me because it is so beautiful here. I gotta go back all the way up to the viewpoint where our van is waiting for us, and we are going to continue the tour a little bit more. Unfortunately, I haven't seen a condor so far, but anyway, with or without a condor, this place is absolutely insane and so beautiful. You can actually experience this canyon via various ways. There are different kinds of tours. I chose a one-day tour, but there are also 2 or 3 day tours. And there's also the option to explore the canyon by yourself, although this is not at all recommended because the area here is actually quite dangerous. You can easily get lost here. The hiking paths are quite small and, well, rather dangerous. It is nothing unusual that tourists get lost here and even die here in this area. So not the most recommendable way to explore the canyon. We are now at the second viewpoint, and from here we can actually have a beautiful and very clear view. And there are 4 condors up there in the air, and there are 5 more down there in the valley. I'm not sure if you can see those ones in the valley in the camera. I'm actually super happy that we now saw the condors. As I said before, this place is insane with or without condors, but obviously that is a very unique experience to actually see them, those huge birds, in their natural habitat. There are actually so many now, it's absolutely impressive. We are now doing our last stop for today. We are at some hot springs. Those are natural. The water comes from volcanoes here in the area, meaning there are different pools that are naturally being heated up. And with that, we are at the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoyed the tour. Now, I am still not done with my journey here in Peru. Actually, I am super excited because I am finally going back down the mountains. I will go back to sea level. I will go to the coast tomorrow and finally enjoy some really hot weather and hopefully also some sun. So if you want to keep following me on my adventures, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and also if you enjoyed this tour, drop me a thumbs up, and I will see you next week.